The meeting will come to order. Welcome to our August Board of Trustees Committee of the Whole meeting. It's great to see everyone. And just a warm welcome to everyone who's present, and best wishes to our teachers, administration, staff, and students as we delve into a new and exciting school year and the opportunity to soar to even greater heights. On behalf of the board, thank you to our entire GCS team and Dr. Royster for an outstanding school opening. We're very excited about that. Our first matter of business is the approval of the consent calendar. We have a recommended motion from administration. Do I have a maker of the motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Middleton?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Thank you. Ms. Middleton has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Mosley has made a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries. Our second matter of business is the appearance of visitors, and no one came to see us today to speak. So we'll move right along to item 3.01, which is instruction. And Ms. Morrison Fair, I'm going to ask you to chair this section, and we changed our seats in case y'all didn't notice. We're in different spots. We're having to get used to that. So Ms. Morrison Fair, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chairman. And I would like to start with 3.01, and that is magnet and choice programs. And Dr. Royster, would you like to make a comment before we start?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have today to present to you on behalf of the magnet and change in assignment process in the district, Susan Stevens, Associate Superintendent for Academics, and Drew Britton, who's the Director of Planning and Demographics. Academics obviously manages the programmatic side and the metrics around selection process for magnet. And Mr. Britton's office manages the logistics of all of that and the actual assignment of students once they have been accepted as a magnet candidate. It's been a while since we have reviewed these programs with the board and publicly. We have made, I think, some very positive changes in the selection process to make it more efficient and effective. They'll share those with you today. And this directly goes to the incredible amount of choice that we're able to provide to students within our district. This past year was about 14%. It would appear we're probably on track for that to be 15, maybe between 15 to 16% this year. But this is certainly an important component of that choice process. And at this time, I will turn it over to them to share with you the information about the two processes.
Thank you, Dr. Royster. Good morning. It is always a wonderful opportunity for us to have the chance to showcase the many different opportunities and exciting avenues that our students can pursue in Greenville County Schools. And so, as Dr. Royster mentioned, today Mr. Britton and I will cover an overview of our magnet and our change in assignment programming. And while school choice is certainly not unique, the scale and the quality of the programming that Greenville County School offers certainly is. So the data that we will present to you is from the 25-26 school year. And as Dr. Royster mentioned, we anticipate those same trends to continue into this year. We currently are just over 14% of our students participating. For the 25-26 school year, that equated to about 10,835 students participating in some form of school choice throughout our district. Again, that is a significant scale for a district our size, and it is absolutely something that our families and our students take advantage of. School choice in Greenville County has evolved significantly over the last 7 decades. So in 1964, the school choice program was initiated as part of a voluntary desegregation effort that was conducted in pursuant to a court order. Then in 1970, the Fourth Circuit mandated integration. And so at that point, that was evolved into a district-wide student reassignment process. And then in 1985, Greenville County Schools was released from that federal court order. At that point, the federal courts had determined that we had successfully integrated the school district, and so we were released from that federal order at that time. Prior to 1995, this is a term you might be familiar with. It's a term that sometimes we hear every once in a while that still crops up. There was the change of, or the special permission era. That was the term that was used prior to change in assignment. So the special permission era determined that any change in home-based school assignment could be approved by the area assistant superintendents. We had a different format for our assistant superintendents for school leadership at that time, and those area assistant superintendents had the authority to be able to grant special permission slots to families based on a variety of different criteria, as noted here. During that same transition time in the late 80s and early 90s, we introduced some programmatic changes, and we introduced the first IB school at Southside High School. That became our first International Studies Choice Program location. In 1995, the Board of Trustees approved the creation of the Select Schools program, which has since evolved into our magnet schools. And in that same period of time, the Planning and Demographics Office was established, and as Dr. Royster mentioned, Mr. Britton and his team coordinate placement, analyze attendance enrollment data, and also monitor state and Greenville County residency information. In 1995, the first wave of magnet schools was introduced. And so these are the first locations that were introduced during that time period. It included Blythe Academy, Stone Academy, League Academy, Beck Academy, Hughes Academy, Carolina High, and Southside High. In 1996 and 1997, we continued to expand the vision for magnet locations to include Hollis Academy, East North Street, then later Greenville Middle, Greenville Senior High, and J.L. Mann. Of those listed, Hollis Academy is the only that is no longer a magnet school. In 2008, an ad hoc committee of the board was established to review our policy, and at that time solidified what we currently know is our choice program. So while school choice was obviously taking place prior to that time, that 2008 board policy has now kind of codified exactly what we reference as our current framework.
Now we're going to look at some data and processes. Here you have two maps. The map on the left depicts the change in assignment school choice students in our district based off their home address. The map on the right depicts the magnet students based off their home address. On the left, you'll denote that the density of students is primarily located in major population hubs, Greenville, Malden, Simpsonville, Greer, but it's also dispersed out into our far northern and southern sections of the district. Looking at the magnet students by home location, you'll see a banding that takes place along the I-85 corridor with higher densities in Greenville and Malden and Simpsonville areas. When comparing magnet versus choice, we'll go through the purpose, the selection basis, the application method, and transportation. So first, the magnet academies provide a thematic, specialized learning experience, while the change in assignment school choice process is an alternative general education by location. Looking at the selection basis, our magnet academies provide a merit scored rubric, so that's looking at grades and discipline, while our change in assignment is looking at the available space that we have across the district. It also provides us the opportunity to give full-time staff priority for their children. The application method for our magnet academies is online via GCS Backpack, and then the change in assignment process requires parents to go to their first requested school and fill out a form. We do offer a digital application. Parents can reach out directly to the school or contact P&D. or planning and demographics. And then transportation is provided for our magnet students, while parents are responsible for providing transportation and change of assignment to and from the school. We do have some shared attributes amongst the programs. Both utilize a November application window. We align those together so that parents can do that at the same time. We prioritize returning siblings, and then we continually monitor our wait lists. They're dynamic, and we try to offer as much choice as possible for our students and families. Looking at our change in assignment acceptance rate, 92.1% of students who apply for change in assignment were offered a slot at a location of their choice. 7.9% were not offered a slot. We had 3,960 new applications for the 25-26 school year, and that will increase for the current school year, 26-27. We offered 3,648 slots, and 2,468 were all accepted. Looking at a demographic breakdown, by ethnicity, our white population, it was the majority at nearly 60%, followed by Black at 19.65, Hispanic at 10.63, and other ethnicities represented 9.85% of our choice or change in assignment population. Looking at pupils in poverty, our change in assignment population had 47.89%. We also offer change in assignment school choice for students with disabilities. Self-contained students with disabilities can apply to all of our GCS schools. The special ed department reviews for space availability and appropriate resources. I believe we had about 240 participating this most recent school year. Moving on to magnet, our magnet acceptance rate, that was nearly 70% at 69.9. Students who applied were offered a slot at the location of their choice, while 30.1 who applied did not receive a slot. We had 1,362 qualifying students apply, and we offered 952 magnet slots with 469 accepting. Here are our current locations for our magnet schools, the elementary and middle. We have Blythe Academy with languages, East North Street with math and science, Stone Academy with communication arts, and then Beck with international and public service, Greenville Middle with global and traditional studies, Hughes Academy with science, technology, and Spanish, and League Academy with communication arts. Here are high schools. We have Carolina High School with engineering and health, Greenville Senior High with law, finance, and business, J.L. Mann with math, science, and technology, and Southside with our IB program.
Thanks, Drew. So here's a closer look at our magnet enrollment data, specifically going over the locations that Mr. Britton just reviewed. Specifically to note here, obviously, is the total enrollment of the school, but then also the magnet location, magnet enrollment at each of those locations. So you see that for Blythe Academy, for example, 47% of their total school enrollment are magnet students versus some of our other locations, which the magnet percentage is a much lower percentage of the total school enrollment. Here is a closer look at the demographic breakdown for each of those locations as well. Again, as Mr. Britton noted, our pupils in poverty is a target population that we closely monitor. The purpose of school choice is to ensure that students have the opportunity to attend a variety of different schools based on their programmatic or academic needs. And pupils in poverty, specifically through the magnet opportunity, have the opportunity to take transportation to magnet locations. So 40% of our magnet students are pupils in poverty based on the 25-26 school year data. We anticipate that that trend will be very consistent this upcoming year. So as mentioned, the transportation for magnet students is a critically important aspect of the program. So that transportation removes barriers for all of our students to be able to access that high quality programming. 67% of our magnet riders are pupils in poverty. As Dr. Royster mentioned, we have significantly changed our application process over the last year to ensure that it was efficient and effective. When we looked at the magnet application windows and the change in assignment windows, as Mr. Britton mentioned, we ensured that those were consolidated and overlapped for families as much as possible so that we could have clear communication with the community. In addition to that, we have expedited some of the things in the magnet application process. If parents reside or students reside within Greenville County, they can apply through Parent Backpack. They can apply through a paper-based process if they prefer that. If they are in district, they can apply through that Parent Backpack. There is no additional steps needed in addition to that application. We do have a process for out-of-district students to apply for magnet slots as well. The caveat there being we need to ensure that the information that they're providing to us is provided in a similar way to what our in-county districts have, so that the evaluation and the rubric can be consistent. And specifically, we are asked quite often about grades. Sometimes students from other counties will transfer in with grades that are on a letter scale versus a numerical scale, and we need the home school to translate that to a numerical value so that we are comparing in-district and out-of-district students consistently, if that makes sense. So that is an additional step that is required for out-of-district applicants. The assessment rubric is also something that we have modified and continue to look critically at. For our magnet rubric, there is an attendance requirement that has recently been removed for kindergarten and first grade students, kindergarten and first grade applicants. And the reason that was removed was because, as you know, K-4 and kindergarten is not compulsory in South Carolina. And so we found through our analysis that we had some potential inconsistency if we counted attendance as a requirement for those grade levels, because students may or may not have attended a primary program somewhere else. They may have attended a program that required attendance, or they may have attended a program that didn't require attendance. And so if we were scoring that inconsistently, we could negatively evaluate students or inconsistently evaluate students. So we removed that for the kindergarten and first grade applications to make sure that we were benefiting our student applicants. The additional change that you see there too reflects the removal of the grading floor for the state of South Carolina. So the magnet assessment now takes the removal of that grade floor into effect. And then discipline is something that we are looking closely at this year. As we've mentioned to this board previously, we as a district are looking closely at our student supports, our MTSS process, which includes discipline and behavior. And so what we are considering level 1, 2, and 3 discipline infractions is some work that we are continuing to do into this year. And so we will be evaluating how this rubric may need to change to appropriately reflect that. For specific example, we would want to make sure that if a student had a significant level of discipline issues, that was evaluated differently than maybe 2 or 3 minor infractions for a tardy or for not having an ID on. So we wanted to make sure that that rubric allowed room for a fair evaluation of student behavior. I think the most important and significant change, again, specifically for our younger students, was the evaluation process itself. So we discussed the change to the attendance requirement, but we also changed how we complete this assessment. In previous years, each individual magnet coordinator evaluated students who may be applying to their specific programs. We determined that it would be better to conduct a blind evaluation process where all of the magnet coordinators come together to one centralized location. They evaluate the students applying without knowing which locations the children have applied to. And then they do a blind evaluation using a consistent rubric. And then the district level magnet coordinator helps to offer slots so that we were able to remove any sort of bias or any sort of influence that could possibly become part of that process. That also allowed us to, as we mentioned, align our timeline with other district timelines. We could expedite the process. We could be much more efficient in our communication with families. And more importantly, it allowed our families to go to one central location. They were able to meet multiple magnet coordinators and learn about magnet programs of Greenville County schools versus just one specific school location. So this is something that we continue to evaluate critically. Julie Marlowe is our coordinator for magnet programs. She does a beautiful job with supporting magnet coordinators and ensuring that our applicants are processed and given the most fair opportunity for available slots. That selection process follows this timeline. So we do give in round one sibling priority. Then there is the scored ranking, as we mentioned. As we go through that process of evaluation, we rank the students and we place them in available slots based on the number of slots available at the locations that they've selected. If there is a tie between students, we use a computerized lottery to offer the slot to a student, and waitlisted students are waitlisted in a rank order. So if slots are declined by other students, or if for some reason additional slots would become available, we award those slots in the rank order that students have been scored. We continue to secure that waiting list, and we maintain that until the new school year begins. So we have made some significant strides, we believe, in this process to ensure that students have the opportunity to attend through either change in assignment or through the magnet process. Schools all over Greenville County, and as indicated, a high percentage of our students take advantage of this. We know that it is something that makes our district unique because of the exciting and diverse opportunities that students have, and it is something that we continue to look to expand. What questions can we answer for you today?
Thank you so very much for that presentation. Mosley?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Stevens. As a parent who took advantage of both magnet and school choice, or not special permission, whatever they're calling it now, I appreciate the fact that we do this. I want to ask a question. I think you gave the population or percentage for the magnet schools, like how much, but what about the school choice schools? What are our schools? Do we have a school that has a significantly high population of choice students in it?
You have that data.
We do. Was that in there, or did I? Okay.
Yeah,
I would just be curious to know if there's certain schools that we have a lot of folks choosing to try to get into that are not magnet schools.
yeah, East Side at the high school level, Wade Hampton at the high school level, Fisher at the middle would be our highest. Blythe is our highest elementary, but it's magnet. Plain, change in assignment would be up there as well.
Okay.
So, we do have that list. of schools.
Okay. I was just curious.
They
about
do
that.
a choice in, choice out report for us every year.
Every year.
Once it kind of settles, because I think Drew mentioned that in his comments. Up into and including the first week of school, they're still offering to people if they want to make that change. Once that settles and they send us a choice in, choice out, I don't know there's ever been a year when there wasn't a choice in or out of every school in the district.
Yeah.
The numbers do vary. We'll be glad to share that with you all.
We have to count for
when
those.
they pull it together.
I guess I was just curious if it was consistently a certain 3 or 4 schools that I knew Eastside was a big one, but I wasn't sure about the others. So
Yeah, we have to track that significantly for student population
Right.
projections and ensuring. So we're watching those trend lines to see if they're shifting anyway.
okay, I want to go back to the assessment, the last part, Dr. Stevens. Thank you, Drew. And I just want to make sure I understand this correctly, because having gone through this a really long time ago, I'll be honest, I don't even remember the process. But are you saying that students are, especially for these young ones, they're assessed academically for
There
where
is
they
a-
are?
For our primary students, they do not have grades yet to
Right.
go through an evaluation process. And so we have a assessment that is consistent across all of the magnet locations. It is one assessment used for all that is specifically designed for primary students because they do not have grades to use as part of the application process.
Okay, so is there any risk at, and I'll give you a great example. I'm gonna use myself as an example. I chose a magnet school that I felt my son was going into first grade, so he would have fallen into this age group. Felt like it would be a better fit for him, based on their focus and there's a little more movement during the day. I'll use that, okay? Is there a risk I was making that choice as a parent knowing his learning style. Is there a risk that we would not, that a child may not get into a magnet that the parent feels like would be a good fit because of our assessment process would not like qualify them?
So parents will still identify the specific schools that they're applying to. So a parent could rank the number of schools, specific numbers of magnets that they are applying to, and then the student would go through the assessment process. And then based on the identified schools and the available slots and how that student performs on the assessment would determine at each of those locations whether they were offered a spot there. So to answer your question, if you have one specific school identified as your only choice and they have a certain number of slots that your child got into, great. But if they're lower on the wait list, they would remain on that wait list until an available slot opened up. If they chose multiple locations for potential placement, then we look at each of those locations to try to find an available slot that the student can get into.
But it sounds like if they were lower on the wait list, it might be because they didn't perform as high. They might be a lower achiever
that
and
is-
a high achiever. So are we giving all of our high achiever spots to magnet? That's what I'm trying to get at, because as a parent, if I was worried about my child that might be at risk for something and feeling like another school could serve him better than the school we're assigned
Sure.
to, I feel like that is being
So I think we
manipulated
would
a
want to
little bit or
remember.
taken away a little bit.
Right. So the magnet programming involves that rubric because of the specialized academic programming that is at those locations. So it does differ from change in assignment for that reason. And that's why there is an academic component to that application process. So we don't necessarily need students, especially at the primary level. It's not, that is a very forgiving assessment. It was designed and evaluated by a team of academic specialists with input from magnet coordinators and the schools and the magnet programs themselves. But there is an academic component to the magnet application because of the specialized programming that we offer at those locations. That is what makes it different than a change in assignment request.
Well, and I'm just gonna be honest, I can see that for a school that might be focused on engineering, mathematics, but I'm not sure I see that in a school of the arts. So I'm just trying to make sure that we haven't set our process up to be a disadvantage for students that might be a little bit behind academically, but then the school their parents wanting to send them to might be the better choice to get them to perform better, is what I'm trying to say. So that's just my concern on that.
That is data that we absolutely continue to collect, and annually as we meet with the magnet coordinators and we look at our processes, that is something that we will need to investigate.
Okay.
One thing that also occurs, probably more so in Drew's office than through academics, when people are looking for somewhere to go and they don't get in the place they asked to go first, their first choice, they will suggest to them, well, based on what you're looking for, here's some other places that you
We will call and offer multiple spots. We try to help them.
even if they didn't put that on their original application.
Okay, and that might not even be a magnet program, it just might be a school that has availability or
Correct.
opening. Okay,
That may have things that align with what that parent's looking for.
Right.
Because as you know, all of them are,
right.
to a degree, different.
Well, and please understand, I'm not suggesting, I think the intention is fantastic with the assessment process. I just want to make sure, since you said this is a new process, right?
Mhm.
I just want to make sure that we are not trading one issue for another, maybe is the best way of saying it. So, okay. Thank you, Ms. Morrison Fair. That's all I have for now. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ms. Goodwin Caldwell.
For this presentation. You answered, a couple of my questions, but I have a couple more. With the, magnet school with the new tech, is the number that you had up there for JL Man, is that inclusive of new tech? Because that's a low number.
It includes all
Is that
three.
182?
Yes.
That includes the new tech
Yes.
program?
Yes.
Okay. Also, how far into the school year are the wait list students assigned to a school? So you stop the wait list at the beginning of the school year, or when slots come open, do y'all contact them for them to change schools? How does that work?
We continuously monitor our wait list, and we continue to take rolling applications as well, especially because it's, as we've talked about in the long range facility plan, so many people are moving here. And so they may move here in October, and so they can request at that time, and we'll continue to track space at the class level as well as the facility itself.
So you still stay in contact with the parents if they,
If
slot
space
comes
is
open.
available, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. How many of our schools wear uniforms? Our magnet schools wear uniforms? Because I'm getting calls from parents about these dress code violations.
That may be a question better for our assistant superintendents. Do you know from this list who wears uniforms?
How many of our schools have uniforms as their dress code?
I know of, I believe Fisher is still in dress code.
Hughes does, right?
And Hughes, that's correct.
They're
there any
almost
others?
all at the middle school level.
Right.
Dr. Tiller, do you and Mr. Williams have the exact count?
Yeah, I can get the exact count, but of this list right here, Hughes, Greenville Middle, League, Beck,
Have uniforms.
Greenville Middle does not. Okay, that's the only one. Hughes, League, Beck, and then Fisher.
Because I know in the middle school years, this is when, the hormone and they're growing. And with the clothing now being tight or whatever, I'm getting calls from parents about these dress code violations. Because I mean, the clothing that they're wearing might be a violation of the dress code. So, should we make all of the middle schools have uniforms? Is it in?
Do we or can we? I missed the first part.
Can we, if it's becoming, if you having a lot of dress code violations going on at these middle schools, can we look at that data to see if they might need to go to uniforms?
Traditionally, the process has been that originated at the school level. They had a discussion within their community and made that decision really as a school community. I don't know, but there might have been one elementary school at one time that had uniforms, but I believe it's been predominantly, if not exclusively, in the middle schools. The first ones probably originated before 2005.
Can we start maybe looking at the data this year in case they are giving all of these dress code violations to these kids that are coming in?
Yeah, and I think one thing we want to do is, this is not an unusual phenomenon, that they get a large number of dress code violations the first 2-3 weeks of school.
Yeah.
When they're testing the limits, one.
Yeah.
And two, I guess they've been accustomed all summer to wearing whatever they wanted to. So that's probably not an unusual phenomenon, but certainly at any point in time, the administration or this body can dictate that a school have a uniform. But it has worked better. The process has worked better where the community buys into that decision on the front
Right.
end. And I
Right.
think the
Yeah.
places we've had uniforms that's gone pretty successfully over the years. Um, it doesn't maybe sometimes look like some people think it would look. If you walk in, there's probably only about one of them where you won't see this variance in like colors of what they wear. They might have like 3 different color shirts they could choose from, or 2 or
Right.
3 different colors of pants. So you think you're going to walk in there and you see everybody dressed exactly alike. They don't always look
Right.
quite like that.
Right.
But I think it has been successful. I would think it'd be pretty appealing to the parents of those students.
Okay.
But anytime there's a community that wishes to do that, we certainly have a process set up to do it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for this presentation.
Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Just so I understand, the magnet schools, using the example, there's just 4 of them for the high schools that we have listed. JL Mann use that as an example. They're a magnet school because they have more advanced math and science courses. Is that right, that they offer?
They have a specialized programming that is offered through their curriculum. Yes, it is a unique pathway for that location.
It might help, because I don't know that you all mentioned this. You talked about the history of the magnet programs. The history of the magnet program has to do not so much with the program itself, because the programs were developed to carry this out. It had to do with bringing students into under-enrolled schools in and around the middle of the district, in and around the city of Greenville. If you look at what almost every one of those schools has one thing in common. They're in the center of the district. In the late 80s into the early 90s, the enrollments were rapidly declining in those schools. So the district brought forward the idea of developing magnet programs to attract people in from other areas in the county that were growing in population, to fill empty seats in these schools and relieve overcrowding in the schools in the communities that were growing rapidly. So as a result, they developed, if you look back on each of those slides, they developed programs to attract students. And you see the schools we're talking about, all of them, again, they're in the middle of the district, in and around the city of Greenville. Some of their programs have been altered, refined. Some of them changed over time. Now, it's been highly effective. Well, not just this, but of course the enrollment in those neighborhoods, people have come back into them. If you look at the list of students by program that are coming in from outside the school, the numbers don't reflect this as much today as if you'd seen this presentation 2 years ago. J.L. Mann and Greenville High were almost at the point of we couldn't put any more students in there because their base population had grown so much. Now, with a little dip in enrollment overall, that's eased up a little bit. But if you look at now, J.L. Mann, 182, it would have been at probably half that number a few years ago or less. Greenville High would have been close to half that number 2 years ago because not any space. So it was incredibly successful in doing what it was designed to do through a programmatic approach. So the programs were put there and built there, and part of Magnet is they have some extra resources to carry those programs out, which would be true. You mentioned J.L. Mann as an example with math and science. They have more higher level math and science courses, and they have some additional FTEs, I believe it's 1 or 2, to carry that out. But all of them have particular programs with additional resource, in addition to the fact that we will provide transportation. And I think you all will recall, you saw in the presentation, the statistics. That's really enabling choice for students beyond those who have a way to get themselves there, which is, there are a lot of great things about choice, but it often leaves people out who have no ability to get their child to a place other than in proximity to where they live or where we run a regular route bus. So it has done an excellent job meeting its initial goals, but also in establishing these specialized academic programs that appeal to students. Now, over time, a lot of those things that made those schools unique, we have done pieces of those programs other places by adding courses to help to meet that demand.
Thank you for that. You know, having been a former teacher in the science program at J.L. Mann, I do remember they had a lot of advanced classes. It was terrific. And I guess my comment would be, it'd be nice, and you said you're doing this, to add all these advanced courses to other schools. My question on that, though, is do you have a mechanism to follow the students to see if they're actually taking advantage of these magnet school courses? Suppose they get in and they're really not taking those courses. And then is there, I mean, obviously you wouldn't kick them out, but.
We follow those students as they matriculate through those programs. Yes.
Oh, okay. And do you find that the majority of them do actually hang in there?
Yes.
Does it help them in their college applications at all? Is that something that's actually highlighted when they apply to some of the colleges, just out of curiosity?
That is information we can get from the school counselors, from the director of counseling. We can collect that information.
But if they're there as a magnet student,
Yes.
and they don't pursue the magnet courses, then they will have to go somewhere else.
Okay, so
Now-
they could be,
But what you need to look at in those numbers, so you used Mann as an example, I'll use that. The magnet enrollment, there are students that are zoned to JL Mann that are in the magnet. So obviously, if they come out, they stay right there at JL Mann. But if you're a magnet student coming from another attendance area in the Mann and you don't stay in the magnet, then you go out because you're taking up a slot that someone else who wants to be in the magnet could be using.
are disenrolled from the magnet and would go back to their regular zoned school.
Or to another choice.
Or to another choice. Okay, perfect. What happens to children that are, say, homeschooled? Do you have a way to score them so that they could get into a magnet program?
So that would fall under that out-of-district application process. So they would submit an application and they would provide us with the grade records, transcripts, information that we could use as part of that rubric.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Mr. Cochran.
Thank you. I think this is on the bottom of slide 11, I believe, but with the change in assignment, school choice, where we offered 3,648 slots, but only 2,468 slots were accepted, so about close to 1,200 that were not. Is it mainly due to the fact, those students that do not accept, is it generally due to the fact that they did not receive their first choice, or what mostly is going on with that?
So our acceptance rate for first choice is over 82%, I believe. But it can be an array of reasons. They can apply for change in assignment, but they can also apply for magnet, and they can apply for virtual. So it could be that they accepted a magnet slot and they were admitted to their first choice school. So there are so many options that we provide for our families that it could be an array. The best way to answer it, they could have been offered their second choice initially and after the lottery window, and then we offered a first choice later in that process based off space availability. But those numbers, the acceptance rate or these slots offered can vary because of the options that we provide families.
And similarly, I think this is on the bottom of slide 15, but for the magnet program, where it says that 952 slots were offered and only 469 were accepted, which of course would be less than half actually being accepted. What are your thoughts on that?
Same rationale. And a parent and student could request 3 magnet schools at the middle school level and receive slots to all 3. So, but then they only accept one of those slots.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Morrison-Fair.
For a great presentation. On slide 12, I found it very interesting that 46% of our pupils in poverty are requesting a change in assignment, or they're accepted for a change in assignment. And when change in assignment comes with providing your own transportation, I find that interesting, that 46% of those students are pupils in poverty. I was just wondering, I was sitting here reflecting as a former principal, trying to get some insight into that. What is your insight into that high number of pupils in poverty who are requesting change in assignment and are willing to provide the transportation?
So in our long-range facilities plan, we talk about the transiency nature of our district. And one thing that we do is offer students to remain at the school of their choice, or at that they were originally attending. So if they were at Summit Drive, they left Summit Drive's attendance area, we would, if we had this space available, we would offer them to remain. So that could entail your question.
Thank you for sharing that, and that's wonderful. I appreciate that. And my last question, I was looking at the enrollment, and thank you, Dr. Worcester, for explaining that even though the percentage may be slightly low for the percent of magnet students, that everybody in the school benefits, and there are students who are in that school who also maybe who love to participate in the program. I was looking particularly at Southside, who their magnet program is the IB program. And I'm wondering, does that also apply to Southside with the 4%? Do other students in the school take advantage of the IB coursework, or is that solely for the IB students, which is 4%?
There may be some in the zone population that are into magnet, but it would be very few in that particular situation. And IB is something that we're continuing to look at. We need to look more closely at it. We've run the satellite, for lack of a better term, IB programs, Travelers Rest, Greer, Woodmont, in addition to the one at Southside. And they're producing more students taking high-level coursework, but they are not really producing IB graduates. At the same time, the demand for IB has fallen off fairly dramatically in the last several years. It still appeals to a certain number of people, but with the huge influx in advanced courses that we do now for college credit, whether they be AP or dual credit, there are things that are benefits to that you will not derive from IB, because you're not going to get college credit from taking an IB course. Now, part of IB, they can take some AP or high-level courses, but the true IB program to get an IB diploma is so regimented that there is little room for a student to take the other coursework for which they will derive, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but if you look at it from a practical standpoint, they will derive more practical benefit from dual credit and advanced placement in the terms of advanced standing in college, which directly translates to cost. Because we're very fortunate, our dual credits, all the ones that we do through the Greenville Tech College Transfer, with our contribution to that in Greenville Tech's, they cost a student and their parents nothing. AP costs students nothing, class nor the exam. So to commit that kind of time, which removes your ability to take advantage of these other two things to a great degree, it's not that appealing to people. And I think we need to look at, is our approach what it ought to be? And we've already talked about it internally. Should we go perhaps look at going back to where we just have this one program that does it all, one place at Southside, which is the first, I believe, first IB
First
program?
one. Yes, sir.
Or do we need to continue this regional satellite offerings? And what's in the best interest of the majority of our students and our individual students? So that's something we need to look at, because it is not as in demand as it was when it was created. So it behooves us to review that, which we're in the process of.
Dr. Royster, district-wide right now, we only have 93 students who are seeking the IB diploma. District-wide, at all those locations.
Including Southside.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Royster. I am certainly glad to hear that there's been discussions about that internally, and we are looking at reevaluating that, because if I remember correctly, there is a substantial cost that comes with that programming as well. Am I correct?
It is. It is extremely expensive to operate, not just the Southside one, but the other satellite offerings. And we still have one elementary IB program, so they're very expensive to operate. And particularly the elementary one, there are things that we could gain by keeping parts of that program that might not necessarily indicate we need to keep the whole thing. But we need to look at that from a global view, making sure that we're not missing out on opportunities to provide our students. But that's a part of some of the things that we'll be looking at this year going into next year.
Thank you very much. Again, pleased to hear that. And my final question is, I am all for magnet programs, and also for change in assignment. I think that's wonderful. In particular with the magnet programs, do we have plans in the future to expand that to any other locations?
Our greatest challenge with magnet, because when you say magnet to us, it has this one thing that comes with it that's extremely problematic. So we'll talk about that in just a second. What we've tried to focus on is getting schools to be programmatically different. The most recent example, Reedy Laurel, with his focus on environmental science. So doing things that would have the attraction, I mean, no pun intended, that's what magnet was all about, attraction. So having this attraction to come into that school. The thing that we struggle the most with, because I'm sure that Mr. James became extremely concerned when he heard expand the magnet, is his portion of this, trying to operate a 12-bus transportation system to move students around 800 plus square miles, take them all over to behind McAllister Square. If you've ever been by there early in the morning or at the end of the middle of the afternoon, you'll know what I'm talking about. They all come in there from all over the county. Then they rearrange themselves onto different buses, go to the magnet schools. And it happens twice in the morning, twice in the afternoon. And then in the afternoon, the reverse of that process. And that is the single largest cost to the magnet program, at probably just under $1 million a year when you count the buses we have to, the physical asset as well. But just the logistics of doing that in a time where we are struggling to get sufficient number of drivers. So I guess that's sort of a yes, but a yes from the programmatic standpoint, but not carrying with it the additional logistical burden of transportation, particularly, I mentioned to you earlier, and you can see it makes a difference in the magnet with the percent of students who ride the bus that are pupils in poverty. But what it was really, I think, pleasing to us to see was in our regular change of assignment. If I remember right, the last time we ran those numbers, which was several years ago, the percent of pupils in poverty doing change in assignment was about 38%. So it's gone from 38% to 46% without providing transportation. Now, still, if you look at the magnet transportation, you'll see that it certainly is providing opportunity to those students. But that's indicative to me that we can and should continue to expand choices by, we can't go away from the basic program that we offer everywhere, but in addition to that program, what can we offer beyond that that is unique and different at the elementary, middle, and high school level to encourage students to come in there, especially places where we got seats.
Thank you, Dr. Royster. I appreciate that explanation and hope I didn't make you nervous back there, Mr. James. But I understand.
He's sitting back there trying to figure out how
I
to get them all
understand
home
that.
this
So
afternoon.
I'm going to rephrase my question and ask, do we have plans to expand special programming at our school?
Yes.
Yes, and that is ongoing. So, for example, I'll use Stone Academy as an example. Our wait list and the number of applicants for Stone Academy is always large annually. They have a very strong communication arts program. In order to be able to replicate similar offerings throughout the district, Mr. Wingate, through Fine Arts, has looked at opportunities to bring in smart arts grants. And he has worked with several elementary schools to build school-wide comprehensive art programming that can be embedded into existing school processes so that we can begin to offer those similar type experiences without the requirement of a magnet transportation piece.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing about those in the future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would like to extend for 10 minutes. I have, I think, 3 additional people to speak for, without any objection. Right, Ms. Linda LaVentus-Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Linda Morrison Fair. I appreciate this. This is a great presentation. My 2 children both took advantage of the JL Man and the Greenville High. And I will say that when they went on to college, they utilized their degrees for that reason. And it was very successful. I think these are great programs to offer. I, on the other hand, drove my children to school because I didn't want the burden of the district driving. But I understand that there are many parents that cannot afford to do that. And I appreciate the accommodation that we make with our buses and et cetera. I will say that this is the first year since I've been on the board that I did not have any problems with parents trying to get their children into a specific school. So I just want to give kudos to your department, Drew, and to the 2 Drews and everybody else involved. It was a breath of fresh air. I mean, I was thinking, and everybody got in the schools they wanted, and there were no cries and upset parents and devastation experiences. But I do like Dr. Royster that we're looking at implementing these specialized programs in the schools that children already attend. I think that's a plus, just like we did with career and technology, and we put a lot of those career classes in the high schools. I think the way we're looking and advancing in the very different directions is a plus for all of our students. We all want them to be able to experience success, and we want them to be able to do different things. And that's one thing I like about our district. We're very diversified. And so your questions, Ms. Goodwin-Cowell asked a couple, and Dr. Stiles did as well, and Angie, the one about special ed was very concerning for me as well. So thank you so much.
Dr. Presley.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison Fair. Quick question. How many IB diplomas did Greenville County School District award last year, the year before? Do we have that?
You do have that. I'll get that number for you.
Thank you so much.
That was quick. Ms. Mosley? You had a question? Another one?
I actually do have another one, but if someone wants to go ahead of me, I just have a really quick one. Good? Okay.
Okay.
To somebody's point, and probably Mr. Cochran's, do we have a number, and you probably don't have it right now, so it's fine if you get it to me. Do we have a number of the folks that we left, for lack of a better word, hanging? In other words, they didn't get into either their school of choice or the magnet program, because I would like to know kind of what that head count looks like. And then also to go along with that, do those students have to reapply? Like, let's say they applied to go to a magnet program and they didn't get in, but they still really want to. Do we just leave them on the, or if they're on a wait list, because you said something about them, like the younger ones being in rank order, do we just leave them until next year? And if we have a spot open, do they get in?
They stay on that list.
They stay on the
So
list?
Once they qualify, then
No, they reapply every year.
They reapply every
they
year.
stay on, okay, so I apologize. So they're on that list for the duration of that school
For that year?
And for that next year, they would reapply for that process if they're still interested in going to those same programs.
Do we ever give parents an opportunity, like if someone moved away in the middle of the school year and a change in assignment came open in, I don't know, January, would we contact the next person on the list, and or do we like for a mid-year change? Because some parents might want to do that to get their child in the door.
We're constantly, it's a
Okay.
fluid process and enrollment fluctuates. So we have to ensure that we have space and the duration of the academic year. But yes, we continue to monitor and offer slots.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, but thank you.
Right now. Mrs. Doolin?
I'm glad Dr. Stiles asked about plans to expand, because I think maybe we need to discuss that in our strategic plan or have an ad hoc committee to talk about things the community might want in each area. Mr. James, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know what the first pickup time is for a magnet student in the morning?
It's probably about 5:30.
And then what's the last drop off? When would that student get dropped off at home?
We've been tracking that the first 5 days of school. They've been getting dropped off about 6:15, 6:30 at night.
6:15 at night? Okay, that's,
I can point to the stops they were at.
sure. So that's going to bring me to my point. I would turn down a magnet spot because those times don't work for young children, or they wouldn't work for mine. 5:30 a.m. until 6:15 p.m. And the school day is 6 or 7 hours. So if we are able to have an ad hoc committee or talk about it with the strategic plan, I think that we need to take the same plan that we did with the ARMS program and have a northern site, a middle site, and a southern site for the programs that are really popular. Like if Stone has a long waiting list, maybe the southern part of the county needs to have a school focused on the arts also. And then we would be able to serve so many more students, just like with the ARMS program. I know that would be extremely expensive. That's another,
Incredibly.
we'll talk about that another day, but 5:30 a.m. to 6:15 p.m. is just not doable for most families. That's a lot. That's just a really long day to put on a young student.
How many riders do you currently have, Mr. James?
It's about 400.
And I think it's,
Signed up, but once the advertised time came out, they let you ride on the spot.
Exactly.
and it's been between 400 and 500 probably for 15, 20 years.
It has
Pretty
been.
consistent number.
We had a little more increase this year. And then, like I said, some elected not to take it as soon as the call went out. And then typically this week in every school year, we will adjust even more for the positive because people will have tried it for a week and not really cared for it. I am hearing from some parents that the lack of EDP in some schools has really impacted their decision on magnet transportation and magnet choice. I mean, that, I don't want to open that can of worms, but that is something else we are hearing.
Sure.
Which is something for us to look at to see if adding EDPs helps facilitate other enrollment. But a lot of those magnets, you know, are pretty close to full. Some of them are completely full.
Well, I know EDP fills up the prior year, so
Right.
if you're a new magnet student, you're not gonna get a space if it went to zone students that applied at the end of the last school year.
But all of those times that Adam talked about, they will improve to a degree as we go through the year. The beginning of school, the first generally 5 days, he tracks all the arrival time, mornings, PM, arrival back, sends us a report. By the end of that period, then we've probably hit about the best it's going to be between the 5th and the 10th day. But the magnet one will not change appreciably because there's somebody way off in the district somewhere that's accounting for that 6:15 or 6:30 drop off.
Yeah, that 615 child is in the Blue Ridge community.
It's probably one, in the next one might be 20, 30 minutes before that one. A couple of years ago, it was a child in the southern end of the county that was going to a health careers program at Carolina High School. Was the longest ride for anybody.
Well, high school students can probably handle a 12-hour day more than a 7-year-old. So I think that's something that we should look at, because I think there's a way that we could serve more students and not have a 12-hour day, which, I mean, what is 5.5 hours of a commute? I mean, that's a long time to be on a bus. So that's it. I hope we can consider an ad hoc committee to look at it, or when we review our strategic plan to see if we can incorporate future plans for these programs. Because I think this is something that Greenville can shout from the rooftops and be so proud about these programs. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any other. Okay, I don't have any other questions, but I do have a question. Give me your definition again of out of district. What would that include exactly? When you say out of district. Oh, I'm sorry.
And I think you're not close enough to it.
Oh, your definition of out of district.
An out-of-district student is a student that does not reside within our attendance boundaries.
Okay, so it wouldn't include like a Spartanburg or Lawrence County.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, we're a little bit unique because Greenville County Schools is not solely aligned with the boundaries of Greenville County. So when they're talking about out of district, they mean for a family that physically resides outside our district lines. Because you can live in Lawrence County and be in our school district. You can live in Spartanburg County and be in our school district. But you can also live in Lawrence County and not be in our school district, or in Anderson or Pickens. So when they're saying out of district, they're commonly internally, we're not talking about going across our own attendance lines. We're talking about somebody that lives outside the boundaries of the school district itself. When they use the term out of area, that then refers to you live in, for example, the Carolina attendance area, but you want to go to Southside. That's out of area. You live in Anderson County and you want to go to the IB at Southside, that's out of district.
Reason I'm asking questions, that particular question is because I have parents that want to take advantage of some of our opportunities, especially in the special education area. And they are, I guess, they want to know if those students can apply for some of these positions that we have open. But I think I understand that.
Yes, they can apply. Now, they have to pay out-of-district tuition unless they get one of these scholarship voucher things from the state. which replaces the local tax-based contribution on a per pupil basis. In other words, that way the taxpayers of Greenville County Schools are not subsidizing them coming from, let's say, for example, Anderson 1. Now, we'll get the state funds associated with them if they come to us as a full-time student, but either that parent guardian has to pay the, I think, Robin, it's $3,800, something like that.
Actually, for this year, it's $4,184.
So how, $4,184. Either they had to get a voucher in that amount, or they got to write us a check, and we'll take them, check one semester and the second one. That's how that works. But there has to be space available. And we got to make sure, Drew made that point earlier, that if we got like 2 slots available, we can't let a out of district student, because we may have a student move in that needs that service, and we've got to have a place for them. So there's a threshold that's established for accepting that, and it's in that policy that you all approved in June, Doug? We revised that policy to make sure we had a policy upon which a great deal of the state statute was based. We had to tweak some changes to it, so you all approved that at the June meeting.
All right. Thank you very much, and I will make sure that those questions go to Mr. Britton.
Happily answer
As
them.
opposed to Ms. Morrison. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I will turn it back over to our chairman.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that we had some rich dialogue today over this presentation, which is really good for us as a board, because we really want to constantly understand what's taking place in our district and to be aware of the ins and outs. And so thank you for all the great questions. Our fourth matter of business is administration. And Ms. Mosley, I'm going to ask you to chair this section, and I'm giving you the floor at this time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stiles. We're going to keep going. Agenda item number 4.01 is a hiring update. I believe I'm turning this over to Mr. Davies, unless Dr. Royster has something he wants to say leading up to it.
Just simply as a reminder, we do a very comprehensive report of HR actions every fall. This is not that. This is simply kind of the critical hiring over the summer that Mr. Davies is going to share with you. That other presentation will come later in the fall.
Just go forward here. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. Always a privilege to be able to speak to you and report on the great work that's going on in our school district. As Dr. Oyster said, in the October, November timeframe, we do a full comprehensive HR actions report that talks about all the hiring, the transfers, all of the actions that have taken place, all the recruiting efforts, all the job fairs, all those numbers. That will be a very comprehensive report that we'll do, and we'll update you on these numbers. This is just a snapshot to give you an idea of where we are as we started our school year this year, and it also gives you kind of a benchmark to look at where we were last year. So you will see these numbers for our principals, assistant administrators, our teachers. We broke it out by our regular ed teachers, our special ed teachers. You can see those numbers there. The special ed aides, I will make one note there that while we're still looking to hire for 12 of those, if you will remember, this past budget cycle, we added 10 special ed aide jobs to our job corps there. So we are continuing to work on those. We're at a better place than we were last year, even with the addition of the 10. I talked to Ms. Castor yesterday, and she let me know that last week we had all but 2 of those jobs covered, at least with subs right now, and yesterday we had all but 1 covered with subs. So there are people in the schools working in those positions, but we continue to look for long-term solutions for those special ed aide jobs. You see all the other aides. There are 8 vacancies that we continue to try to fill. The next slide just gives you a a rundown on some of the other positions, as Dr. Royster said, some critical job groups that we look at every year. And you can see that as far as our secretaries, bookkeepers, we are in good shape at the moment there. We need to have a part-time lab manager hired. You can see our full-time subs, we're looking for 4. I'll also mention, if you remember, in last year's budget cycle, we added 15 full-time permanent subs to our job corps. So again, we're kind of in the same place we were last year, but we added 15 positions. So we continue to look to try to fill those. You can see where we are there with our clerks, running a little bit above where we were last year in terms of vacancies, a little bit better with nurses. We've already talked about bus drivers. I know I talked to Mr. James yesterday. He's added 2 more to his group, so he's down to 51 right now. And I'll also say I think that number includes 21 floater positions. And if you're familiar with that, those are folks that are hired to show up every day, and Adam and his team will just assign them to a route wherever they need to go. So that 51 now, it was 53 a few days ago, includes, Adam, I believe, 21 of those jobs. And Adam has a pretty good core of day-to-day subs who don't want to drive every day, but they will drive certain days, and they have helped him to cover routes over the first week of school. And we continue to try to add more drivers. You can see where we were last year. We were about the same point last year. And I think this is really, I don't know in the past few years, Adam, if we've ever gotten much below high 40s, maybe 40 at one point in terms of vacancies for drivers, I believe. The 30s last year. Right. So again, we continue. It's our goal to fill every job, and we'll continue to recruit. We have job fairs scheduled every month where we are recruiting bus drivers, building services staff, and custodians and fans workers. You'll see we've done good with our bus aides there. We don't have any vacancies there for our bus aides. Our custodians, we're in better shape this year than we were last year. We appreciate all the work that team is doing, and you can see with our fans group, we're a little bit above where we were last year, continuing to try to recruit to fill those jobs. So the other thing I will go back and say about the special ed aides on the previous slide, we appreciate the action that the board took last year. They received an extra additional pay bump there. I think an extra $2 an hour. I think they're making between that $20 and $23.50 now. I think that has helped. I think the extra 3 additional training days they have to work with Ms. Hogan's staff to make sure they get the training they need has helped. So all those efforts that you all have put forward and supported to help us continue to get great staff in our schools, we appreciate that so much. We feel good about the returning and the new staff that we've got in place. We feel like we've had a good opening, and that being said, we continue to have our goal of supporting our schools and recruiting and filling every job we have with the highest quality person we can find. So again, just a snapshot for you. We'll be glad to answer questions if you have any, and we'll provide more information in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davies. Do I have any questions? Ms. Linda Leventis-Wells.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley. Mr. Davies, is there anything we can do, or what can we do in order to get these bus driver positions filled, as well as the fans and custodians?
Yep. I mean, that's a great question. I think we are recruiting monthly. I think we've also supported, higher pay for our drivers. They've gotten good increases over the years. I think it's not only an issue we face, it's an issue that's a national issue. When I went home to see my mom in the state of Alabama, and in 2 different places, there's buses parked on the highway. We're looking for bus drivers. Everywhere you go, you will see that people are trying to find more bus drivers. So it's a challenging job, Adam. I think the hours, are challenging. You're working early mornings, you're working in the evening. You're not necessarily working in midday unless you're driving extra routes and picking up, extra jobs. So I think you just continue to recruit. I think the support you've already given with pay increases, and I think Adam's done a great job with his team of keeping morale high and appreciating those drivers. And we've seen some great results there and good feedback from surveys. I would ask Adam if he had any additional thoughts on that, but I think we're making some good efforts. It's just a challenging role to fill.
to be competitive. I want these positions filled, so give me some insight.
Well, I mean, pay is always going to be an issue, but we are actually hearing from drivers, and I talked to Dr. Stiles about this earlier in the summer. We are actually hearing from drivers that, the quote, we're making good money. Some of the things that we have done, particularly post-COVID, is we offer way more opportunities. So our drivers are having the ability to work 40 hours a week, whereas before that, we didn't have as many opportunities and we were struggling to get them to 40. We're running into a problem now where we're working them a lot. And we are having several drivers that don't want to work the middays despite opportunities being there. So we've done some things, but we have done some things that other districts are just unable to do because they are unable to provide work in the midday. But, consider the scale. We're adding 13 routes this year. So some of that number is reflected. It's not 13 because we haven't added 13 routes. We've added a handful of routes in a year. So those numbers are reflected there. But again, you're always going to combat that schedule. If the first kid's being picked up at 5:30, that means the bus driver's pretty much on the lot at 4:30. And they stay on the lot till about 6:30, sometimes 7. So I mean, that's, 14-hour day. So you're running into that as well. It's not just we don't provide enough hours. Sometimes we're providing too much.
Thank you so much.
No, I don't think either one of them mentioned it, or if they did, I missed it. It's not just a bus driver shortage.
Yes.
Because you got to hold a commercial driver's license first to drive a bus. And there is a tremendous shortage throughout the country of people with commercial driver's license or who are willing to get a commercial driver's license. So if you're operating any kind of trucking firm, or if you operate a business, whether it be a contracting business or other business where you've got to move material that requires a truck of size that you got to have a commercial driver's license, there's a general shortage of people with commercial driver's license. And obviously that's an arena we would never be competitive pay-wise in, though if you look at our pay compared to driving a bus in another district or even driving transit buses, we're very competitive in pay.
And one thing that I would add to that, if you see some of the numbers from job fairs, I don't know if the board sees that, but when you look at bus driver applicants, you can count on about a quarter or a third that will even qualify because they can't pass the physical or it was more stringent than they realized when they applied. But we drop a lot at the physical, and that's federal DOT standards. Greenville County has a few standards that we impose that are different from DOT, specifically when it comes to high blood pressure or diabetes. But with those, you're talking a handful that would not even be a blip statistically.
And there would be offenses that we would exclude a person from driving a bus for, that if you were operating a company, for example, where they were driving a dump truck, you wouldn't exclude them for those offenses. And the drug screening screens out some number, which we wanted to, number of applicants.
Give me 1 second. Without any objection, I'm going to extend for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I know that qualification, they put all the coaches through, we had to do CDL. I was all in that engine, under that bus, everywhere, and I knew that was not for me. It's a difficult task, and my hat goes out to all of them. Also, thank you so much. Dr. Davies, what can we do for fans?
Well, again, I think we've made some good efforts there. I know Ron I don't think Ron is here this morning. I spoke to Ron. Ron covers his vacancies by moving people around. People have to work some overtime, pick up some extra work. I think just the push to continue to appreciate them the way you have with as much increased hourly rate as we can give them. And I think Ron and his group are doing a great job to support their staff. Again, it's just a challenging workforce. I'll say this, the last job fair, we had 130 people show up to the job fair. Of that, 16 of the applicants were interested in driving a bus. So that kind of tells you, to Adam's point, if he has 16 there and he's even able to pick up maybe half of those, that gives you an idea of what he may glean from a job fair.
That's great.
We also implemented for the first time food service this year, a referral bonus for people who refer someone who gets employed and stays employed. So we don't yet have enough time or data on that to know if that's made a difference. Very similar to what we already had in place in transportation.
I think that's important to indicate. Also, I appreciate you saying that special ed, we added the positions, so we're really down 2, but this is a plus.
Right.
And we have 12 to go, so I appreciate that. And the aides as well, want to fill those because those children and those teachers need all the assistance they can get in the classrooms
Yes,
to
ma'am.
better equip with the children that are in need. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Davies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ventus Wells. Ms. Goodwood Cowell?
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for this presentation. I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
couple of questions. During their downtime with the bus drivers, do they get paid during the downtime if they don't pick up those extra rides during the daytime, or are they just getting paid when they're driving?
If they're not on the clock, they're not being paid.
Paid when they're driving.
If they're picking up the extra routes, they're on the clock being paid. But there is no pay for the interim for those not driving.
So if they come to work in the morning and they only have the morning thing, and they don't have anything during the day, they're not getting paid during the day. Well, that might be the problem there, because they're having to sit around and still have that bus in order to get that afternoon route, and they can't get anything anywhere else. So that's what I wanted to ask about their hours. How are their hours added up?
So you are correct in your assessment, but I would also keep in mind there's a fair amount of people that elect to do that. Generally, if they want midday work, we can generally find it.
Yeah, but with us having the amount that we need,
Right.
that might be
Yes, ma'am.
a problem, having that downtime and during the daytime. I know when I was in school, which was a long time ago, we had student bus drivers. Have we ever considered going back to that? I know my brother drove a bus. When I was coming through, there were student bus drivers. So why do we not have student bus drivers, and when that they won't let y'all have student bus drivers?
That is a State Department of Education decision. I believe they discontinued that in the 90s. I certainly had student bus drivers. My student bus driver was an employee when I took the job. But I believe their turnover rate was a bit higher with student bus drivers. But, that is a Department of Education. We are allowed to hire them if they're 18 and have had a driver's license for 1 year. We do have 3 bus drivers that are under the age of 21, and all 3 of them are actually great drivers. One of them specifically is probably our most complimented driver.
South Carolina was, I believe, the last or next to last state in the nation that cut out student drivers either in 86 or 87 under pressure from the Federal Department of Transportation. It hit just before the requirement to have a commercial driver's license to drive a bus. You're right, up until like 86 or 87, then they were phased out, one of those 2 years. And the only way you can have one now is if they're 18. And if you were to take a field trip across state lines, they can't drive that until they're 21.
Correct, that still applies.
So they have to have a CDL to drive
Yes.
a bus?
A CDL and then a State Department of Education issued school bus driver's license.
Certification, it's a little green card. I think I've got mine right here. They have to have this. And they have to show this specifically if upon request to like highway patrol, anything like that.
Okay, in this first 2 weeks of school, late buses, which, I know that some schools, most of the schools are fine, but you still have some that are having issues with late buses.
Yes.
So what are we doing about that?
So we track that every monthly. I give a report to Dr. Royster and the rest of DLT every month. Generally, when we find a trend at a high school, because, you know, our elementary schools drop off is so early, we're generally not going to have problems with elementary school. I think our middle school averaged around last year around 1% before the tardy bell last year, so we don't have a terrible problem at the middle
I'm
school.
talking about high school.
So it's mostly at the high schools. So we track those, and generally when we can make a route adjustment, we will do that. So, you know, if Dr. Ward were a bus driver and he was getting to school 15 minutes, I might give him 2 stops off of my route to get us both there at a decent time before the tardy bell. So we do track it monthly. We have little geo fences drawn around the
For
school.
these first 2 weeks, how are we doing with that? Because I know some kids that took Lyft to school because when they got the call, it said that the bus wouldn't be there for 45 minutes and they were going to miss most of that block. So they went on and paid to take a Lyft to school. So what is it right now? And is it certain schools that we have the issue with late buses right now?
It is. Right now, it's mostly East Side. And if I remember last year, it was Greenville High, East Side, and I want to say Carolina, but I think that's wrong. I don't remember.
Southside,
I don't.
one of the ones right
Okay, I will have to look at South Side for the first week of school this year, but I don't think we had a very big problem at South Side last year.
I'm talking about these first.
Right.
I know that it would get better, but you know, whenever those high schoolers are missing most of their instructional time, that's unacceptable.
Yes, I'll look at South Side and I'll get with either Nancy or Dr. Royster and get an answer back to you.
Thank you.
Most of their late buses are traffic breakdown or if they have some minor.
Right. And
Oh, one more thing. How many new buses do we have? Because I saw some new buses on the road this summer. I guess they were doing training or whatever.
so I don't know.
They just clean.
I think.
I hope all of them clean.
You know, they did clean them up over the summer too.
I
so they
hope
look
all
better.
of them are clean, but I thought I saw some brand new buses. Did we get some brand new buses?
We do have some brand new buses, and we represent 10% roughly of the state's fleet. So we're generally going to get 10% of the new buses off of each block that was purchased every year. I think last year we had almost 20 new buses. For the start of 26, 27, we did not get any new school buses. We got 13 new to us, but I certainly would not call them new.
How many new to us?
This
What
year,
does new to us mean? 10 years or older? Or
the 13 new to us would what we would call a spare.
Okay.
So, but the good thing about
But they
that,
clean them up good because they look new.
well, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But keep in mind, we have 6 that were vandalized. You know, there was a ration across the entire state of vandalizing catalytic converters. 6 of those hit Greenville County. So we have 6 brand new buses sitting on the lots that we can't drive because we're waiting parts.
Wow.
So I mean, that was a statewide issue.
They hit it at the bus center?
They hit it at the bus shops, the state bus shops, all of them.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
One thing I'll add about, you know, the things that we've done while the bus rate is now.
Hold on,
sorry.
Miss.
Go ahead.
Mr. Davis. Thank you, Ms. Goodwin Cowell. Without objection, I'm thinking 7 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, just that rate has increased from, you know, the range now for bus drivers, 23.41 to 25.90, but I know Dr. Royster's making an effort to try to shrink down the amount of time it took new drivers to get to that top pay. So I think now we're at 4. So, drivers can get there quicker than they could in previous years.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sailors.
The questions are coming from down here. You have to forgive the stab on the new buses. That was a jab at the state for not giving us buses. Some of the questions I had have already been answered, but let me ask you this. Philip, when it comes to bus drivers, you have 53 openings out of how many positions?
Oh,
How many
gosh,
drivers, if we had every position filled, it would represent X people.
You got right under 400 on the road every day, Adam?
With the 13 bus routes that we plan to add with the new buses, it will be 385. We don't track by routes anymore, simply because the software that we have, the new software that we've had for 4 years, goes by trips.
So we're a little less than 15% below full
Yes, sir.
pool, if you will.
And that would include the 21 floater positions
And
unassigned.
what about the same with custodial services?
Thinking here, Colonel Carlin, we, with 18 vacancies, you running
How many
total
custodians, Philip, how many custodians do we have in the system?
Yeah, I may have to get that number for you, sir. I don't want to give you an incorrect number. I'll get that to you shortly.
With the 600.
I think it's
Okay.
around
Just
600.
north.
Let's just say for discussion's sake, 600 employees, and you're 18.25 short.
Right.
We'll talk about the 0.25 later, but anyway, that's not, it's a number.
Right.
How many of those are floaters?
I'd have to get that for you.
Okay, it doesn't matter. So there's a component there that are floaters too. Same question with fans. How many staff members would be considered full employment base? And the reason I'm asking that is these numbers are bothersome, yes. But when you look at the greater number of how many positions that are filled and
Yes,
being
sir.
done, that is something we need to be mindful of. Also, with bus drivers, Adam, you mentioned this, fill-in work. So Mr. Smith or Mrs. Jones drives in the morning, they work for building services during the day, and they drive in the afternoon. Or they work for fans in between routes. That is also an option that we have at our discretion. Is that correct, or at the employee's discretion?
It is. We don't have a lot of crossover between the departments. I
Right.
think we might have one that does building services, floats over in between. When I said we have fill-in work, I'm mostly talking about the fill-in work in transportation.
Gotcha.
Right. I'll get you the numbers and the percentages by those 3 employee groups, so you have
That's
those.
fine. Just a question based on this conversation.
From a historical standpoint,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, that custodial number of 18.25, that would be approaching the lower numbers we've ever had. For years, it would run, excuse me, particularly when the economy was not good, because that's a factor.
Right.
It would run about 12 to 15. Now, the last several years, it's been up in mid-30s to 40. So probably sitting in about 18. That's probably one of the 2 better years in the last 5 or 6 years. Fans is higher and has been for several years than it was historically. It used to be that fans would have the lowest vacancy rate between fans, custodial, and bus drivers. It would have the lowest one. And that has changed for whatever reason over the last several years. And that number is a little bit higher than most of the year last year. I think most of the year last year, it stayed in the 40s. Now, Ron will be the only one who's not in here this morning. Will be the only one to tell you how many floaters that is, but there are a certain number of floaters there. He probably has more floaters proportionate to his workforce than building services does. Maybe more than transportation does, because you got 21 floaters. 24.
Total of 3.
When you're filling the bus driver's position and they're required to have the CDL, just so everybody understands, how long does it take to secure that CDL?
We can generally get them behind the wheel of a bus within a month and a half from the job fair to behind the wheel.
And they're being paid while they're receiving that CDL.
They are being paid what we kind of consider the district minimum while they're in class, but the moment they go behind the wheel for bus driver, they start making bus driver pay.
Okay, now just as a refresher for everyone, bus driver range is low end to high end.
2341 to 2590.
Okay, so you're making roughly $26 an hour if you're at the top of your pay scale, yet a private driver can get, in some cases, almost double that, which is a concern, an issue we face.
Right.
It's a whole lot easier to drive a dump truck where the rocks don't talk back to you versus a bus driver with the kids behind you. Okay, that I understand. When we pay, what does it cost us roughly to train somebody to get their CDL?
About $4,000. That includes their
So
uniforms
we're
and
investing
everything.
$4,000 in this new employee to come to work for us. And are they required to stay for us a minimum period of time?
We have not had that requirement.
So they could come in, we could invest $4,000, train them, and 2 months later, they're driving a dump truck making twice as much money.
That's correct.
I think we need to consider strongly having them sign a contract. If we're going to invest $4,000, their rear end needs to stay working for us for a while. Because the ROI on that is ridiculous.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
I'll tell
much,
you how I really feel.
Mr. Sailors. Without objection, I'm going to extend it 3 more minutes. And Ms. Doolin, please.
So to Chuck's point, out of more than 11,000 employees, these numbers are really small. This is 150 positions out of over 11,000. I think
That's a great place to live
it's
and work.
great.
It is. Yes, ma'am.
To help in these positions that are traditionally not all filled, is it possible to split them up and offer them as part-time? Like, could you have 2, a morning fans and a lunch fans? Like, is that something that's offered?
It's probably easier to split the bus drivers, which Adam does. You can get people to run a morning route and people to run an afternoon route. Because fans doesn't really have that split time in the middle of the day. Theirs runs straight through breakfast to lunch. They probably get through, I don't know, 2 o'clock, somewhere along in there. They can split those jobs if they want to. Now, when you start splitting jobs, then if you're not hitting 30 hours a week, except for bus driver, because there's an exception for them. If you're not hitting 30 hours a week, you're not going to get benefits. Now, that may appeal to somebody. They have done some part-time in building services. What we found over the years in building services is the part-time jobs were not as successful in getting the work done as having full-time people do it. But they have, I think, about 15.5 FTEs now, or 20, something like that. Does that sound right? So they do that. For a while, both the buses that ran out of Fisher were driven by custodial staff at Fisher. I think maybe you only have one doing that now. You don't have any doing it now. But for a while, that was 100% of their bus driver force at Fisher were custodians at Fisher. But I think they were working full-time and they were getting that as overtime pay, if I remember right.
They were, and at the time, a lot of those students live within 1.5 miles. And the county paid for that transportation. Most of our kids now live beyond the 1.5 miles. So we have rolled that into the Golden Strip Bus Center at Fisher. So it's no longer with custodians.
Anything inside 1.5 miles, the state doesn't cover is considered a hazard route if we run it. The district has to pay that. You get a small allowance for hazard routes, but it's nowhere near what we spend on hazard routes.
Well, I asked because I have a good friend that was a FANS employee, and she did not realize how physically demanding that job was, and that she would be standing for the entire day. So if it was split in 2, maybe it wouldn't be as physically challenging, and maybe retirees could come in for 3 hours and then switch off with someone else. I mean, there are plenty of mothers who will work just the daytime hours, but can't get there at 6 a.m.
Sure.
The other thing I wondered about was another point that Chuck made about behavior on the bus. If that's a deterrent for drivers, you could come to us and ask for a strengthened behavior policy for the bus. I personally think that riding the bus is a privilege. And if you can't behave on the bus or your behavior causes the bus driver to be in a dangerous situation or all the other cars on the road to be in danger, I don't think that that student should have the privilege of riding the bus. So if behavior is a deterrent, then I think that we could come up with a solution. So I hope if you find that to be true, I hope you will bring it up. Thank you.
Much, Ms. Doolin. Any other questions about this topic? All right, guys, we're going to move on. 4.02, report on summer training, and it looks like I am turning this over to Ms. Catt, unless Dr. Royster has anything he wants to say about it as she gets set up.
As she's coming up, you all know we do an incredible amount of staff development and training throughout the district for employees throughout the organization. Most people kind of, I think, focus on and think about the staff development for teachers, but we do that throughout the organization. And one of the largest numbers of trainings occurs over the summer. So this is a recap of the summer. Now, some of these things extend throughout the school year, but this is primarily focused on recapping the efforts this summer across all departments, levels, subjects. I thought they'd have it up by now. But
You thought you would.
guess we're getting there. Well, we got it sort of up there.
Standing the wrong way? Yeah, it's okay. You fix it. Which one was it? Where was it? This one. Thank you very much. Good.
Thank you, Dr. Royster. And to the Board of Trustees, we appreciate the opportunity to share the investment of our teachers, administrators, operational, and support staff to prepare for an impactful school year. A distinct advantage of Greenville County Schools is the investment in excellent staff who support students and families, aligned with our true north goal to recruit, develop, retain a premier workforce. This summer included over 1,000 sessions where 21,000 participants posted 122,000 hours of professional learning. Our employees benefit from intentional induction and support, ongoing skill development, intentional leadership opportunities. This morning, I'm going to highlight how school leaders, teachers, and specialists, and operational and school support staff prepare the experiences that define the Greenville County Schools advantage. Year-round, our assistant superintendents support school leaders to learn from each other and ensure a robust and reliable K-12 experience. From the time school is out, colleagues across leadership teams are sharing effective practices, accessing district resources, and refining routines, making way for an exceptional school year. Over 3,600 hours were formally devoted to this collaboration. Professional learning for our leaders continued through the Innovate Ed Summer Summit, targeted special education seminars, and assistant principal training, with participants investing more than 3,000 hours to strengthen their practice and expertise. A unique advantage for new principals is our in-house induction program, fulfilling state certification requirements in the Greenville context. In 5 summer sessions, our 7 first-year and new-to-Greenville principals built confidence in key expectations, HR and finance processes, school-based management, culture, and the GCS instructional leadership framework. Support continues throughout the year alongside experienced principal mentors with ongoing learning and networking through year 2. We are celebrating 21 new education leadership graduates through Impact Leadership, which combines nationally accredited university coursework with GCS leadership instruction. Many graduates are already serving as school administrators, with 16 more Clemson and Furman grads to be hire ready next summer. The Innovate Ed Summer Summit is a comprehensive district-wide conference serving teachers, leaders, and school support staff in sessions that integrate technology and instructional expertise to prepare innovative, engaging, and future-ready learning experiences. Across 240 sessions, 959 professionals earned more than 5,500 hours of credit. Sessions align with our instructional framework, setting standards of practice that afford every student an excellent education. The next slides highlight the Innovate Ed sessions with the highest participation. An intentional learning environment and culture in our classrooms creates a place of safety, belonging, and purpose. This summer, 460 participants strengthened routines, communication, support, and intervention practices to create positive, productive learning environments and respond effectively to individual student needs. When the teacher knows both their content and the strengths and needs of their students, learning is rigorous, aligned, and personalized, and moves all students forward. In 38 sessions through Innovate Ed, we were focused on literacy and writing, support for learners with diverse needs, special education and intervention processes, and engaging, standards-aligned instruction. Ongoing assessment and feedback supports the highest levels of academic attainment and of growth. 21 sessions advance teachers' ability to accelerate student learning. Over 50 Innovate Ed sessions were devoted to instructional delivery, including hands-on learning, storytelling and inquiry, writing, language frames, and academic talk. Also math and early learning and technology-enhanced instruction. Careful unit planning and lesson design enables maximum achievement and personalization of skill development. 41 sessions supported this domain with highlights including collaborative planning, technology-supported planning and presentation tools, differentiation and accessibility strategies, and designing content-rich learning across subject areas. Many sessions at Innovate Ed supported teacher time, productivity, and teamwork. Included were PLC leadership and team building, communication and workplace culture, and Google tools and workflow supports. Beyond Innovate Ed, across the entire summer, district leaders deliver high-quality development so teachers are well prepared for the school year. These professionals facilitated 200 sessions, affording over 19,000 hours of professional learning credit in the areas of curriculum and instructional planning, specialized instruction and intervention, program implementation, and content-specific teaching practices. Our Smart Arts partnership with the Metropolitan Arts Council continues strong with 38 schools participating this year. Just before students arrive, with everyone back at work, teachers come together for a district-wide professional learning day. 82 sessions, hosted nearly 3,000 teachers, earning 7,000 hours of recertification credit, a final polishing before student arrival. Highlights included updates and best practice in every content area, early learning and student development, and assessment and targeted support. Comprehensive training in the science of reading continues, with 1,850 4K through third grade teachers and administrators completing 2 or more modules, investing a total 51,632 hours. You can view the content in this proven curriculum here in this slide. What a powerful advantage when employees believe in where they work. Principals, instructional coaches, and teachers invest their summer to analyze results, plan to accelerate student progress, and further their skills to meet school goals. Teachers invested over 16,000 hours at school this summer, devoted to instructional planning and alignment, PLCs and effective classroom practice, teacher leadership, school culture, and new teacher support. 5 schools learned arts integration practices in partnership with a national organization, Arts Now. Elevate Week is an exciting and productive time at Alexander and Lakeview as faculty and staff come together to celebrate their success and fine-tune their strategies. This year's focus included student ownership and engagement, high expectations and rigorous thinking, responsive instruction and targeted support, clarity, consistency, and relationships. Teachers build leadership capacity as they support early career educators and help them see GCS as the place to build a fulfilling career. 453 participants were prepared as peer evaluators, mentors, and leaders of professional learning communities. A new lead cohort began, and we hired 12 new counselors from the Clemson Partnership. We continue our high standards of safety, leadership, and student development through the NIAAA certification for all athletic administrators. We ended the 25-26 school year celebrating 10 years of GATE teacher preparation, and one of our own was named the State Induction Teacher of the Year. 59 new teachers this summer completed 11 days of the Pre-Service Institute, learning critical startup skills and planning lessons and classroom structures alongside their coaches. Institute strands are listed here, and training and coaching support continues across the school year. Our Year 2 GATE teachers completed their 2-day institute alongside coaches as well. We are very excited to celebrate the success of our GATE teachers and those who are moving to leadership roles this fall. Just a glimpse of those just for the 26-27 school year are there on your screen. New professionals deserve a strong and supportive beginning. Our Induction Institute for Traditionally Certified Teachers provides just that, and a competitive $54,606 to go along with it. The highlights of these conferences are listed here, both a first-year institute and a second-year institute as well. Turning our attention to the operational and school support departments who make exceptional experiences possible, in addition to employment and financial preparation for the upcoming year, our HR, finance, and procurement offices updated understanding and trained for new processes, making certain that new principals and school staff were well prepared. We trained for the new substitute system and updated processes for all EDP directors and secretaries. Our building services and maintenance staff set and renew the physical conditions for schools to serve at optimal levels. Custodial College sets the bar for efficient and exemplary performance and ensures strong stewardship of our equipment and facilities. 2,700 man-hours were devoted to ensure the highest standards of care in this area. In 25-26, our drivers had a 97% on-time arrival rate and a 99% safety record. This distinctive level of performance requires intentional hiring, training, and specialized attention to the needs of students. You heard from Mr. James a number of the things that continue to happen to ensure the very best for our kids. We recertified 650 drivers, trained new drivers and coaches, and 11 aides for special needs students, while continuing efforts to support student management, relationships, and safety. Some of the best memories for students are time with friends in the cafeteria over a tasty and nutritious meal. Always the highest quality meals and safety are at the forefront of training for servers and managers. Cafeterias were again open to the community with breakfast and lunch service up 60% and 38% respectively over last summer. School is the safest place your child can be. Woodmont Middle School was the site of our summer training exercise, hosting 210 participants. This training, co-hosted by the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, engaged employees in simulations to support the highest standards of safety and preparedness across our district. We complement active shooter training with orientation, planning, and review at one of our reunification sites, with 120 district staff engaged in simulated activity aligned to their assignment as members of the district emergency response team. We've outlined for you the investment of thousands of people who make Greenville County Schools the go-to place for our children. What an advantage for this community and its families, the educators and support professionals who open the door to unlimited opportunity for every student. Dr. Royster?
Thank you so much, Ms. Cap. Do I have any questions? Okay. Anne Marie, Ms. Middleton? Ms. Middleton? Oh, you're on. You're up.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. That is a lot of training that goes on in the summer. Can you tell me what is mandatory for the teachers to take?
Wow. So there are basic things that are mandatory per their certification. And staying updated on new curriculum, which we didn't have so much of this summer, would be mandatory for someone. Our academics division recently, along with school leadership, put together an app that principals and teachers can access that outlines these things are required. Each of you needs these in appropriate time. These things are priority, and these things are great to have, okay? In our professional development portal, we call it, our PD application, there are thousands of opportunities. But the priorities for our teachers, training and ongoing development, come inside our academic framework. Those key practices that I outlined for you that we build Innovate Ed around, those are the practices that we know get us the most return on investment and support our children to the highest levels of achievement. So I'd have to really dig down deep to give you a base, but we could. But it has everything to do with best practice, research-based strategies that align and support the needs of children.
The biggest required training in there that would affect a classroom teacher is that letters training.
Yes.
Been going on now for several years, for which the state provides a small stipend, and you all agreed out of some fund balance requests we made a few years ago to add to that stipend. So they've been stipend for the letters training. Most of the rest of the training is, as Karen indicated, it is self-selected because they got to maintain their certification. You have to get 70 points to do that. All of us that have a certificate have to do that. So they will choose that. There may be some special program they're a part of that they got to receive a training for, but most of the teachers are self-selected. Sometimes it's a training their principal directed that they needed to have because they've observed something in that teacher that they believe needs to be strengthened or changed, and they will benefit by going to this particular training. Then some of the others, like the custodial college for custodial and plant engineers, that's a required training. The bus driver training, that's a required training. The safety and security training for those people with those responsibilities, that's a required training. So it just varies throughout the system.
So thank you for that. I'm glad that there is a stipend for the letters training. Is there any other pay or anything like that, or for any of the training, or do you provide the money, say if they have to go to a conference?
Well, there is some conference money, but pretty much what they would need to meet their requirements for certification, we offer locally. Now, some of these people are on the clock when they're getting this training. So like the district professional staff development day, you saw a slide in there about that, and the one at the school level, those would be on days teachers are compensated as a professional development day, part of their 190-day contract. The ones they choose to go to over the summer, they are not compensated for them. If we roll out new curriculum and they're part of adopting that at the local level, generally we pay a stipend to the people that participate in that.
So if there was, say, a conference that would be beneficial, would the school district pay for that, or would they have to pay for their own conference fees?
It's possible that it'd be paid by the school. A certain amount of staff development money is sent to the schools that has to be spent in accord with their staff development plan for their school. It's approved by their assistant superintendent. So that is possible that a school will fund it. On occasion, at the district level, we'll fund teachers to go somewhere, but that normally runs through that other process. Sometimes they will simply choose to go. And if they choose to go and their principals approved it, they can have a day from the 10 above student attendance. There are, 2 exchange days? So if they went to something this summer or on a Saturday, they can get permission from their principal to use that as an exchange day. So technically, they're getting paid for that day because that's a day during the year they don't have to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Middleton. Mr. Cochran.
Thank you. I think this was on slide 8. There was a couple of things that I was just interested in having a brief description of the training. And one of those was at the top of that slide, and it was embedding emotional wellness into classroom routines. I was just wondering if somebody could give me a description of basically how we do that.
Well, you will remember that one of the very first pieces of the instructional framework is about environment and culture for learning. And that includes ensuring that in the classrooms, students can feel a sense of belonging. Teachers will do things to build team, to support students, to help one another, kindness, basic characteristics of what it takes for the culture of a classroom to run well. Order is important, safety is important. So if we talk about embedding emotional wellness, we're talking about the behaviors among all children that support that climate to be so. The specific session, I would have to read deeply into the description to tell you what that person was talking about, but I can say to you that every single session for Innovate Ed was vetted through the academics professionals in that department to ensure that it aligned with both our regulations, the details of the boundaries that we work under, and also that it fit fully that instructional framework and aligned with our priorities.
We'll send you
Off.
We'll send you a description of it.
Yes.
Instead of Karen trying to put back together, because as you can see, there are thousands
yes
offerings in here. And I think that would answer your question more completely and fully.
Right. The other one, and maybe a description could be sent to me about that one as well. I'd be interested. That caught my attention was I think the fourth one down, introversion in schools, supporting all students in an extroverted system. But yes, if someone could send me a description of those two, primarily, there were some others I was interested in, but primarily those two, that'd be great. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley.
Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Dr. Presley.
Thank you, Ms. Cap, for this presentation. A quick question about the internal mechanisms that we have as a district to ward off that whole concept of a sit and get.
Yes.
With PD. How are we, and I love the fact, Dr. Royster, that we handle our stuff in-house. We've got the infrastructure to do it. We've got the knowledge, and that is very, very powerful. So what are we able to do within the district to ensure that all of those hours that were spent with PD transfer into our classrooms? Meaning when our attendees come to those, they are acquiring new learning. But how do we ensure that they have a plan for application of their own new learning in their classrooms? And do we monitor and support as they implement that plan with hopefully getting as close to impact on students? And I know, Dr. McCreary, isolating those variables is impossible. You can't just say it's because of this PD, but how close are we to that and to supporting those attendees throughout the year as they implement this new knowledge?
Dr. Stevens, I think, can give you a holistic response to that one.
That's exactly why we began to prioritize the professional learning that we were offering for teachers. We needed to ensure that we had a very strategic methodology for offering, supporting principals and administrators in ongoing support, and then also making sure that we were tying that to curriculum maps and ongoing training throughout the year. So at every level, our academic staff worked with instructional coaches, worked with principals, worked with the assistant superintendents to identify the most critical learning for every position by content area and by grade level. We identified the 3 to 5 sessions that were most important, and then we offered those as required trainings for teachers in a variety of different offerings and sessions. And then we also have begun to develop an administrator's map for those learnings, meaning if a principal could not possibly be in all of those sessions, but a principal or an assistant principal needs to know what are the key learnings from each one of those that they can then support those teachers in and follow up on. That is built into our instructional coach and principal training days. And then also new this year, we have increased the number of learning lab opportunities for principal groups to visit each other's schools, to collaborate around different problems of practice. And then also we will be able to tie in some of those required pieces at each of those levels as part of those discussions.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Presley, are there any other questions for Mrs. Cap? All right, Ms. Cap, you're off the hook.
Thank you.
And I guess I'm off the hook too. I'm gonna turn it back over to Dr.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley. Our fifth matter of business is building and grounds, and Ms. Doolin, I'm going to ask you to chair this section, and you have the floor.
You. Section 5 is buildings and grounds. 5.01 is the facilities project update. Dr. Royster, did you want to speak to this first?
Just briefly, I don't think there's a tremendous amount of new information in the facilities project update, but want to speak directly to the athletic field turf projects at the 5 locations. As we've shared with the board in written information in the last couple of weeks, we are not where we need to be nor want to be with those projects. We've done a number of things to address that. As you recall, there are 5 turf projects that were all led at the same time. They were awarded to one bidder that has evidenced the ability in other places to do that number of projects. I believe Colonel Carlin shared with me they successfully did 200 projects during the last year, various locations. We have not had a good experience with them moving in a timely manner. They had the ability to begin their work on May the 18th or 19th. They did not, we believe, did not ramp up sufficiently early enough. So right now, we have those 5 projects, 2 of which are in liquidated damages, meaning there's a date by which you must be complete, and if you've not been complete by that date, a fiscal dollar penalty is imposed. It is $1,000 a day per location. That's already been imposed on 2 of the projects, now 3 of the projects. It is likely it may be imposed on a 4th, and it's probable that the 5th one will be completed short of the deadline for liquidated damages. We have applied significant additional oversight pressure on their work, in addition to the project manager assigned to that, who manages other projects in addition to this project. We have increased the time from the consultant that provides us expertise in this area, and we have engaged Leroy Hamilton, that you all will know, former deputy superintendent. And I won't go through all of Leroy's lengthy jobs that he's held in the district over 50 years, but you may also recall, so he's been around a while, that one of his key roles several years ago, he was the person between the schools and the best program in INRI. So carrying out a very similar role in this, he's on site every day, including Saturday and Sunday, at all 5 of those locations, monitoring exactly the effort they're putting forth, the forces they're bringing in, the amount of work they're doing, and the times in which they're doing it. We have seen an acceleration in their workflow since we have put the additional pressure of liquidated damages on them, the presence of Mr. Hamilton there, as well as additional on-site presence from our project managers and from Jamie Benton and from Colonel Carlin. So we are making progress. We have also incentivized them to bring in additional forces, because there are parts of their work that do not require a specialized contractor to perform, primarily those things related to grading, leveling, topsoil, gravel, that sort of thing. We have made available to them the opportunity to work throughout the night. Obviously, that's a benefit right now, not only for time and speed, but for the heat. And I believe they've actually had a sub or 2 walk the job because of heat. I believe that's correct. But they have supplemented those forces, not only replacing them, but adding forces to that to move it along. So we're seeing progress there. If we are not ready for any school's first home varsity football game, they all have a contingency plan for how they will handle that. We won't pull the trigger on implementing those plans until we are certain that they can't get the field ready. Not just, when I say in time for the game, understanding to us that time frame means 3 days before the game. Because we do not want to put a team out there on that field. We don't want to get a field turned over to us on Thursday. We accept it, and on Friday they're playing football on it. We want them to have 3 days to be on that field, to practice on that field, to get acclimated to that field, and for us to make certain there are no issues with that field. So all of them have that in place. Now, one of the other factors, particularly in our athletic programs, though we have been very fortunate, you all have approved in past several years support for athletic programs far beyond which they had years ago, but they are still very reliant on gate revenue. And for most every school, the largest gate revenues that they have are home football games. So we will work with each of those schools to ensure that they are made whole for any revenue that they may miss if they have to move a game. Now, one of them had the option they could move the game from the week it was in till they had an open date on the third week. I don't think they chose that option, but they can relocate the site, or as you may know, the football season doesn't start with week 1, it starts with week 0, which that's just the way they've always termed it. But you have an open date somewhere in there before you get to the end of the season. You might have your open date in week 0, or it might be week 3, or it might be over in week 5. You work that out as a school with the opponents that you play. So that will come into play. Right now, I think we're good at Woodmont. There'll be no question they're ready to go. The others are going to still require this considerable effort to make sure they are ready. And be glad to answer any questions that you all might have about that. And the folks here that are here this morning are the ones directly dealing with that. If there's some question that I can't answer, or Colonel Carlin.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions specifically about football or the fields? Mr. Sailors was actually first. Go ahead.
When y'all work that out, we'll answer the question.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Oyster covered a great many things I had to ask about the football fields. I mean, let's face it, 80%, I would imagine, Scott, for the untrained eye, 80% of the work being done on those fields is below ground anyway. It's all the drain systems, the curbing, the gravel that has to be a certain level. It's got to be compacted, et cetera, before the rug is what I call it, goes down.
That's correct.
It's manufactured. Okay, so, and so you've got Woodmont. If we look at your original schedule and looking at the football schedule, Woodmont's pretty well in good position.
We're hopeful we're going to see that completed by the end of the week.
Okay, and then Riverside's got the rug going down. East Side, knowing what I know about their processes, I'm assuming East Side would be shortly thereafter Riverside's goes down. And
They'll be the next one in
then
line.
Hillcrest and Fountain Inn.
Yes, sir.
And we hit Rocket Fountain Inn, so that's been a game changer there.
Although it was fortunate that it was rippleable rock, something that didn't require complicated removal.
Yeah.
So they're moving along.
Okay. I know this is an unforeseen complication, and Leroy, thank you very much for being their adult supervision at the sites. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've got Booster Club folks at Riverside and Eastside to make it, how are things going? People are going by one school, seeing a little more progress than the other. But at the end of the day, I feel confident everything's going to get worked out. So I appreciate your diligence in getting that accomplished. I was over toward MT Anderson a few days ago on a separate event altogether and saw the progress being made on the food service complex. How are things going there?
Excellent.
So we'll be able to get in there on time and,
Yes, sir.
okay, no problems there.
No hiccups at this
So
point.
then and this might be something for both you and Dr. Royster to answer. So then I know that you're trying to find space to relocate offices in this building as you approach getting renovating this space. Are we going to be moving the food service out of their space at MT Anderson and moving some of our folks here over there? What's the game plan on that?
Well, we believe we'll be able to move food service somewhere between mid-November and mid-December. I think their target date's actually mid-December. We may relocate some people from this building there. However, we're not quite ready to speak about it yet publicly, and we will be, I believe, before you all meet next Tuesday. We believe we've lined up a relocation site to move the bulk of this building temporarily, which will allow us to vacate it earlier, which will allow the contractors to finish earlier, which will facilitate us being able to hopefully move back in at the beginning of summer rather than right as school's starting. We think we're real close to working out something that will accommodate that, and we'll be able to share that with you all. I feel confident by next Tuesday.
Okay.
So we're close on that.
Okay. Well, then, while I'm talking about MT Anderson, the question begs itself, after the fire, everything, how's that coming along?
We have, we've hired a contractor to get started. It's the same contractor that is working on the fans. So that's making it real convenient to dovetail systems that are associated with both. We've already identified long lead items and we're placing orders for that equipment. So we anticipate at this point that we're going to be successful in getting that back up and running in the December timeframe.
We've not completely settled with the insurance on that claim.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we're doing, one of the things they're going to replace the cubicles upstairs. If you all been up there, it's like a warren of cubicles up there.
Yeah.
Because there's fabric on those cubicles, they did not want the expense of cleaning them. They tried that and it was way too labor intensive. So we're going to replace those cubicles. We're also going to take advantage of that. That place was designed and occupied in 2009, 8, 9, somewhere along in there, to rearrange the upstairs. So that's why it's taken us longer than just simply going in there and getting it cleaned up and putting everything back like it was. They've done all the demo. Everything's been removed that needs to be removed. There'll be some upgrading and replacement of HVAC systems, reconfiguration of those cubicles up there, and the changing around some of the office space. Little more, it's more than just putting it back like it was.
Right.
To take advantage of a bad situation, actually.
So any remediation of damaged materials, odors, potential damp atmosphere, things like that are going to be corrected all at one time?
Yep. Well, and we think there's still this little faint smell of this almost smoky like smell up there. And I don't know if you all have completely gotten that out yet. Some of it will be finished off by redoing the inside. But have you gotten all traces of that odor out of there now?
Well, I can tell you the last time we were up there, which I think was last week, the areas where we still had minor smoke smells that we had been trafficking through fairly frequently, we didn't have that.
One of the issues with getting that out was we lost the ability, or we had a greatly restricted ability for fresh air exchange on the second floor related to the HVAC system.
Okay.
And the parts that had to come out with the HVAC.
Now, if I remember correctly, there's some soundproofing. Go ahead.
Without objection, can we extend for 15 minutes, please?
I won't be that long. Okay, I know. There was some soundproofing that was sprayed to the bottom of the concrete T-posts I know I've seen it on the ground floor. I can't speak to the second floor. Would any of that have captured those odors and hold it?
The only sound attenuating panels that we had on the second floor that I'm aware of were in conference room C, the new conference room, and those are all being replaced.
This was sprayed on the T's, but
Yeah,
I
this
think it was all downstairs. I wouldn't want to say that for sure. I think it's all downstairs.
I'm just offering that as a.
Yeah, I think on the second floor it's just paint and popcorn.
Okay, well, the popcorn, my concern is the popcorn catching the odor. That's all, or any problems. And the reason I'm being that hypersensitive about it is I was in another situation involved in the evaluation of the old Spartanburg courthouse. And you remember the days back when the employees there were having health issues because of the mold and all of the odors related to the building, and it was not getting the return air line. And I'm just seeing flashbacks. That's all. That's why I'm asking that question, because I see things in that building then that I see in this building now just from the past. Okay.
Well, and it's worth mentioning, you probably already know this, but just for the record, worth mentioning, just like any other situation where we got environmental concerns, we bring in outside third party certified industrial hygienists. They've been through that building. They've run numerous tests in there. I don't even know how many times they've run tests until they made sure they had an absolute clean test. We had one concern about some materials that were in there. We got an opinion from that certified industrial hygienist from one company. There were still questions about it. We brought in a second third-party tester who tested the material, and we're taking the more conservative of the two approaches from the two CIHs.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Dr. Presley?
Just really briefly, I wanted to take a moment to thank you, Dr. Royster, and your folks for continuing to work to get us a solution at Greenville High in regard to parking. When things get quiet, that's always a good thing. And I just wanted to thank y'all and thank you on record for the work that you've done and that you're continuing to do to secure safe parking for our students. Thank you.
Scott and his folks put forth a lot of effort there to get that design, get it done in as you know, a pretty short window because we couldn't shut the driveway down to do it during school. And we are in preliminary design with the property that we bought at the corner of Dunbar and Augusta.
Ms. Mosley?
Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask this question about the turf fields, probably a little more directly than Mr. Sailors did. I just want to, for the record, to be very clear in case I get questions. The delays that we have, there is no concern about the quality that this I know that we're upset about the timing and the deadline or the exceeding the deadline issue, but I just want to make sure that our families, our athletes feel good about the fields they're going to play on once they're done, and that the headache is more in the delay, not the quality.
Yeah, we don't. So far, we have no question about the quality. Now, you brought up a point, and I should have made that point earlier. When you start putting pressure on contractors, what you have to carefully watch is what corner they may cut to comply with the pressure that you've placed on them. Now, there's some contractors that you don't have to worry about that with. We have no experience with this contractor until now. So in addition to the guys sitting back there that are project managers, we hired at the outset of this project a consultant who knows all about installation of artificial turf. We have increased their time and their presence on site to ensure that our pressure does not create the opportunity for a shortcut that will give us a lesser quality job. The second thing that I did not mention, we have structured the remaining fields to be done in two groups. We're trying to move this through a little more quickly than we laid it out initially, now that we've had experience with it. We will not award, because the next two will go out in groups of 5. We will not at this point award any more than 2 jobs to a contractor. Although there was no evidence this contractor could not do this, and there's every reason to believe, had they done things differently, that they could have done it. If you look at the timeline of when they could have started, and if you look at what albeit limited, but our experience with this is, if they'd started the first job on the first day they could start, they could have done them sequentially, and they'd already been through and moved from place to place to place. I believe that's fair assessment, Scott?
They wouldn't have had any problem finishing these 5 had they started highly motivated on day one.
But to avoid that in the future, though it was obviously to our benefit financially to award the 5, because that was the better price that we got.
Well, and I appreciate that, but I also appreciate the fact that we are taking our lessons learned and making some adjustments going forward so that we maybe don't have to go through this in the next group. So, okay, thank you so very much. I appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Middleton?
Thank you. I noticed that Greer is the last one to be done, Dooley Field. Am I right in saying that it will be then the summer, fall of 2029 when it's completed for the turf? Or am I reading that wrong?
So we are pushing to accelerate our timelines that we gave you. One of the things that you don't want to attempt to do during the wintertime, like we did with our first 2 fields, Greenville High and Wade Hampton, is you don't want to do fields with a track because of the amount of concrete work that is required during the wintertime. So we are looking at moving up our timeline for the last 4 fields that we have that do not have tracks. So that'll be Jailman, Malden, Carolina, and Greer. And then this coming summer, we will complete the last 4 that have tracks, and that'll be Berea, Travelers Rest, Southside, and Blue Ridge. And we'll finish about 6 months ahead of what we had originally intended.
Okay, so.
Say that a different way. That moves Greer to when?
Yeah.
'26,
Lost it on my
27, does
phone.
it not?
Greer will be accomplished this coming winter.
26, 27. If you look at your list, the way you have it in front of you, Middleton, if you will take the bottom 2, which are Carolina and Greer, and move them up to where you see Malden and Berea, that's when they'll be finished. So they will go to the 26, 27 winter.
Will they have the, thank you. I also have a concern about this contractor. And it sounds like you guys are on site to make sure they don't make any shortcuts. But will Greer have the same contractor then? Or is this just the contractor for the first 4 or 5 fields?
Well, all these will be bid separately.
I see.
So the next group will go out as a group, to which we do not intend to award more than 2 to the same contractor. The last group will go out as a group, same way. It would be premature for us to speak in here right now about any further relationship with this contractor.
Thank you. Also, I was concerned, and I don't know, I haven't been to the field, obviously, since last year, but I go to a lot of the football games, and the sound system was very garbled at Dooley Field, the football games. And I was wondering if that was corrected.
I'll have to find that out for you. I'm not familiar with any current problems with the sound systems, but Greg Porter and his team can update me on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. How are we on time? Okay, great. Ms. Goodwin Caldwell?
Thank you. I only have a question about the career centers with Donaldson, the new Donaldson Career Center. Are all of the career centers only structured for 720 students like this one says? Or is this one of the smaller centers?
That would be the second largest one, actually.
So I know Colonel Calling, you told me that it was going to be on 18 acres.
Yes, ma'am.
Down there, because I thought I ride by there all the time and I thought it was kind of small. How many acres are our different community, career centers on presently? If you could get that information.
I can get that for
me,
you, sure.
I would appreciate it. So you're saying that this is going to be one of the larger ones?
That would be the second largest. Right now, the largest career center, because it was Greer High School before it became Bonds Career Center, physically the largest footprint is Bonds Career Center. Golden Strip and Enoree are relatively the same size, and Donaldson, they're relatively the same size. Donaldson might have been slightly bigger. Their current capacities are maybe 500, Eric, maybe. So Donaldson at 720 will be, and going forward, that would be the target size that we'd want for all of them. Because, you know, if you look further out your long-range facility plan, you have renovations or replacements for all of them.
Okay, is this going to be a 1-level or a 2-level building? So have we determined that?
One level with high base spaces.
Shop space you're talking about.
Okay. Okay, if you could get that information to me about the acreage. I
Yes,
would
ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Be happy to.
Thank you. That's all.
Thanks. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much. Then we'll move to 5.02. Because Northwest Middle needs some roadway improvements on the main road. And Dr. Royster, did you want to talk about that?
No, we'll answer any questions you all might have.
If anyone has any questions. No. Well, there is a recommended motion, so I need a maker of that motion, please.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the deeding of 1.251 acres of land at the new Northwest Middle School to the Greenville Legislative Delegation Transportation Committee for road improvements on Robertson Road and Bellevue Road and to approve construction slope permissions.
Second.
Thank you so much. Last chance for questions. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, that motion passes. Thank you. 5.03, Piedmont Natural Gas needs an easement at Bryson Elementary. Does anyone have questions about that? I need a maker of the motion for that one as well, please.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The recommended motion from the administration to approve granting requested right-of-way and easement at Bryson Elementary School as presented.
Second. Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion also passes. And our last item is 5.04. City of Greer would like to lease the baseball field and football field at Riverside Middle. I need a maker of the motion for that. And does anyone have any questions?
Doolin?
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve a lease agreement renewal with the City of Greer.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Last chance questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. That motion also passes, and that concludes buildings and grounds for today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Doolin. Mr. Sailors, would you like to, I know your committee's been doing some work, and I know you've participated in some conferences. Do you want to give an update on any of the work that you've been doing?
Two things real quick, Madam Chairman, related to the impact fee conversation that we've had ongoing. Dr. Royster may want to add to this. One of the things that's holding us up with bringing a report back to the board has been the consultant being able to obtain accurate information from the county of Lawrence. So once that is complete, that will pick back up with movement. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And I don't think we have at this point any update. You had a conversation with the county administrator in Lawrence County, correct?
I did, and Drew followed up.
I think Drew's back, still back there. Drew, have you received what we need from them yet, Drew? Do we believe it's going to be possible to get that? If I understand this correctly, there's an issue with how and what type of GIS systems they use, and their own systems don't talk to one another. Was that a fair description? And we've been unable to persuade or force the information from them, and the issue with that is for them to finish that work, I'm not sure how they're going to substitute that data, and as you know, that's 30 square miles of the school district.
Yes, sir.
So we'll continue to see what we might offer as a substitute for that, because I don't know how to proceed forward without the information, because obviously that part would have to have the approval of Lawrence County, just like the little sliver of Spartanburg will have to have the approval of Spartanburg County if you're seeking the impact fee for the entire school district.
Well, again, the only reason I bring it up is just as an update because there had been some questions about just what the status was.
That's been our whole, other than that, I believe the rest of it is complete in all of its data.
And then, Madam Chairman, the one last thing, we've had an ongoing conversation related to a piece of legislation this past year connected to Buy America. It was related to the steel and iron procurement for public projects. Met with the Office of the State Engineer last week. Matter of fact, while the state superintendent was here, I was in Columbia for that session. And the guidelines that the State Engineer's Office is going to be issuing, we're going to get an advanced look at those to see exactly how, if any, procurement changes might need to be made. But right now, it may not be quite as problematic as we originally thought. They did take into consideration and had a good understanding of our concern with the generation of artificial inflation. And so we'll keep you posted on how that moves forward. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
This concludes our committee of the whole agenda for today. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Miss Linda Leventis Wells has made a motion. Miss Mosley has made a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carries. Our committee of the whole meeting is adjourned at 11:46 a.m. Thank you again to everyone in the audience for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.